Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zelan. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast.
How do you think you could have avoided this problem? Maybe like earlier on, you could have just outlined the roles. And I know a lot of people go blindly into partnership and they're not even sure what they're doing and what their partner's doing, or there's like some gray areas. How have you dealt with that since then?
Yeah. So, early on, there's a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas, but everyone's going to make mistakes, especially for me, now, I look back on it and I think it's stupid, but I don't regret making those mistakes because, a lot of the lessons that I learned made our business into what it is now and being like the bulletproof, super profit driven, very lean operating team and stuff like that. And if we didn't experience those things early on, we probably at some point would make the mistake where we just hired a bunch of people blindly or, went and tried to lease a gigantic $30,000 a month $30,000 a month office space for, just no reason, and stuff like that. I'm happy we made those mistakes early on. It slowed us down a little bit, but now we know we have the exact blueprint on exactly what to do. But now with the partnership side, so me and Cody, we've been partners since day one when we first got into e-commerce and stuff. So we had a lot of issues early on and stuff. So we kind of solved those before we even started this company and stuff. So I completely agree that a lot of people move into a lot of partnerships blindly. Yeah. Typically those relationships, those businesses die off and stuff. So it's definitely better to partner up with someone that, well, you've known for a long time, and especially trust is the biggest thing, I think.
Have you had any issues where you're working with your friend and you mixed friendships and business all in one spot? And have you ever had any issues with that?
So, that's really the heart of our relationship. So me and Cody, partners up until about a year and a half ago, we lived together for 6 years straight. And then both of our girlfriends have been with us since we first got started in e-com. So now they're super embedded in the business too. Cody's girlfriend is the CFO and mine is our CCO. She runs our whole creative team. And, we all lived together for 6 years pretty much, directly in the same house, dealing with all that. Still to this day, I don't have any friends outside of the people in my company. And Dylan, it's probably there's probably 3 people I know in Vegas outside of the people that I work with or work with us, So we were living together every single day and working together. So the business problems, business and personal, is the same exact thing.
Yeah.
So once we were able to separate that honestly made us be able to operate better. I wish we would have not lived together right away or for so long and just kind of separated our personal lives a little bit, because now when we go back to the business, everything's dialed in. There's no other thoughts about other conversations that are happening personally or, someone not cleaning the fucking house or something like that. Those distractions aren't really a thing anymore when you just separate personal and business. But at the same time, we're still super close personally. We just don't live with each other. So,
How have you kind of overcome these challenges? Did you figure out a better way to hire people? Did you figure out that, hey, I want to only hire people that I don't know just from job ads, or maybe people that I only do know, or only choosing from people that I do know? What has been your strategy there?
I typically find the best people through warm networks. Generally, if they get attracted, the best higher level people. And the way I hire people is I bring them in and I do a process, right? First, we have a personality or behavior assessment, because behavior doesn't change. And I learned this from a mentor who ran a massive Keller Williams franchise, one of the biggest franchises in the nation.
And which assessment do you use?
I forget what it's RS. It's a specific one that was specific for the training we went through. I forget what it was called, but I still have it. It's RSPP or something like that. I'll share with you after. And basically you take them through that behavior assessment, and then you take them through a series of questions. So what you do is you take them, when you're going through those series of questions, you're opening doors. and you're getting their why and you're understanding where they want to go with their life and their vision. And then you paint it back into making that happen through the company, right? So when people have their needs fulfilled in a company and their visions reality like created, it really allows for a ton of momentum because like they're so fulfilled in the mission because you understand it, right? It's not just like a transactional thing where you just hire them, hey, here's your pay and go perform. You're actually invoking their deepest desires of what they want for their life and you're making sure they achieve it and you're keeping them accountable to that achievement.
You talk about once you have a cash flowing business, you want to use that cash flow to buy more businesses.
Correct.
Use that money. But isn't there maybe a certain point that you should consider that at? So for example, if you're just starting the company, maybe it's wiser to reinvest. And then once you hit a certain point, then you start buying other companies. What would you say that point is, like that breaking point?
I would say there is a point. Like I always think of companies like people, right? You have companies that are kids, babies, teenagers, adults, and seniors, right? You want to start buying companies when your business is like a full-on adult before it becomes a senior.
Yeah.
If you become a senior, you start to go on a downward trajectory where you lose interest in the business. When you start losing interest in the business and the business is still functional and doing well, that's when you start looking for horizontal or vertical integrations to buy.
Yeah.
And then that way you keep it interesting and you don't slip into being a senior citizen, which is not bad. I don't want to exclude baby boomers here.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the turning point. If you're a teenager and you have all the teenage tendencies, you're all over the place, you're drinking, you're up late, you're not getting enough sleep, there's not consistency, it's radical, you're up and you're down, you're all over the place like a teenager, that is not the time to be buying a company. You're going to crush both companies. You're going to kill them both. And I've seen it. The key is to get to that adult, stable, consistent cash flows, and you get bored. As soon as you're bored, mature, and you're an adult, before you start declining, that's the time.
If somebody's watching this and they're like, okay, I want to grow my business like you did, what are some tips that you would give to that person to maybe take that next step in growth?
Yeah. So beyond the consumer, like finding your consumer, which is really important. I think one thing that changed our business completely was building strategies on a page. And when you're an entrepreneur, you think everything is important. And you've probably dealt with it before also, right? Like every single thing is important. You're getting emails left and right with different opportunities. And if you stick to a strategy that prioritizes consumer, what your thesis and vision is, what your mission is, and drive everything towards that, then the impact is almost like a laser beam more so than the shotgun blast where the effects are, more it's diluted. Like you can do that when you're like a Nike, obviously. But even Nike, they were laser focused on the running group and then eventually became to all athletes. And they still stick with just athletes and then as their core. And then now the fashionistas and everyone else wear it as well.
So have you been just focused on the podcast and then having that on all your platforms, or do you use any other type of social media marketing?
It's mainly the pod these days. I mean, it's the easiest way to make content, in my opinion. Yeah. Instead of doing like a whole scripted video, like by yourself, podcast, you just film this for an hour, you got 10 clips.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with that. I post 3 times a day. So
yeah. And you have a whole team managing your social media?
Yeah. I overpay my editors. That's one thing people cheap out on, which I highly recommend you don't.
Yeah.
Because people can buy clips for $5 in India or Pakistan. I pay my editors $25K a month because I want the highest quality clips. I want them to be able to make a living and I want to be able to grow with them together. The same people I hired from day one, I'm with right now.
Yeah. Awesome. And so is that like an agency that you're using, or is it like people that you hired internally?
Yeah, it's like a team. There's a team of 5 and then another guy in Cali named Max Farzine, who's a beast, man. He's gotten me hundreds of millions of views.
Wow. Awesome. So if somebody's watching this and they have a business, but maybe they don't have a social media presence, what would you say are some of the best things that they can do to start building that brand online?
First, and I'll say this from experience because I started a podcast 5 years ago, total fail. So first, I wouldn't focus on the social media presence. I would focus about what value you're going to be able to provide.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be successful in whatever field you're trying to teach first. And that will take years. And then once you're there, start going on other shows and get clips, and then maybe even start your own show. I'd say that's the easiest way to make content right now.
So one big aspect of your business, I believe, is your social media presence, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. And how would you say that has played into the growth of your business? Have you leveraged going viral on social media to grow your business?
Oh, for sure. I mean, when I first started, I was flipping houses. And so I saw a little bit of social media helping me where I would post a house flip and people would be like, wow, that's cool, man. Like, how do I invest with you? So I got a bunch of investors that way.
Cool.
Or people would be like, oh, dude, like I have a deal. Where do I send it to? I didn't know you buy.
Yeah.
And so I would get deals and investors from just
cool.
posting what I was doing. And then, like I said, in 2020, we're locked up during COVID and I had 50 house flips going. So I had 50 flips right here in Vegas.
At the same time?
At the same time.
Wow.
And, people are like, yeah, the real estate market's dead. We don't know what's going to happen and all this stuff. And truthfully, I mean, I had faith either way that, hey, whatever happens, I'll be good nonetheless.
Yeah.
I did not think that it was going to crash. I felt like, I would have never predicted that it would have went on the rip that it went on for the last bunch of years until they raised rates. But I was definitely confident that dude, this is not that eventually this is all going to go away. They're going to do some stuff to prevent foreclosures. They're not going to just force people to get foreclosed on. I knew that was going to happen. So I actually kept buying during COVID because all my friends and everybody couldn't sell their deals. They were scared. And I was like, dude, you know what? I'm going to take a bet that I think you guys are wrong. And so I took a bet and I started buying and I got crazy deals because no one else was buying.
Yeah.
And made me a lot of money. But during that time, I also wanted to double down. Well, I wanted to hedge really. And I said, well, what else can I do? I'm stuck at home. I can't go to the office. I don't know how this is going to play out. Literally, I can't do anything. Sellers are not selling right now. They're just indecisive because they're scared. They don't know. They don't even want us to go to their house and look at it. So what do we do? And I just started at that time, I honestly wasn't on social media, consuming it much. I just don't care. I don't even consume social media much today. And my wife, though, she's different than me. She loves YouTube. She had, I'll tell you, we've been married 10 years. She started watching YouTube when we were day we got married. And I would watch her watch YouTube in the bed. And I'm like, what are you watching? She's like, oh, it's this family. They do these cool vlogs and pranks. And
yeah.
And I'm like, they just make that on YouTube and people watch it. And she's like, yeah. I just was like, that's so weird to me, but okay. And I remember when I started flipping houses, she's like, let's film it and put it on YouTube. I was like, whatever. So we filmed one and put it on YouTube in 2016. And then she's always loved YouTube. And then finally during COVID, it dawned on me that YouTube was a really important thing. And I think it was a God thing because I got a couple of signs in 1 week. Somebody was like, you should do YouTube. And I got another sign. Somebody was like, dude, have you thought about doing YouTube? And I'm like, why is everyone telling me to do YouTube right now? This is weird.
Yeah.
So I look into it and I go, hey guys, who are your favorite YouTubers? Who would I even once again, who's doing it well? And how do I see what they're doing and try to emulate it? So they're like, oh, well, check out this guy, Graham Stephan. Check out this guy, Meet Kevin, all these guys. And I'm like, okay, so what's their deal? What do they do in real estate? And the truth was they weren't really doing anything. And I was like, so these guys have done 10 deals and whatever. I did that this month. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like, but they're great. They make good content. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. What do they make from talking about this? And then I saw a video Graham did. He was like, yeah, I make about $200,000 a month. It's just me and my camera. I talk about I was like, oh my gosh, dude. These guys make that much money talking about the thing instead of doing the thing. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm over here with tens of millions of dollars of debt on the streets, employees, risk, doing the real stuff. And instead of being a hater, like a bunch of my friends in these masterminds are, because they would hate and they'd be like, why do they get all the attention? I'm the man. I was like, dude, you know what? I'm the dummy. I'm the dummy for not knowing this is right here in front of me and I can do it.
Yeah.
And so instead of being a hater, I joined. I was like, I'm just going to start making content. So I went to my wife and I was like, you were right. You told me to do this 5 years ago, but you know, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yep.
I'm buying a camera. So I bought a camera and she's like, all right, I'll edit them. I was like, great. So I study Graham and these guys for like 2 weeks straight before I start. I buy every course I could find. I consume it on 2x speed. I start talking to people and it clicked. I was like, oh, this is the exact same way I run my business. There's a process. It all starts with the idea and research. Then it starts with the thumbnail and the title. And there's a very clear process of how to structure a video.
Yeah.
And that leads to success. I was like, oh, it's not random. I thought it was random. So then I just start making videos with like a framework. And guess what? They start doing pretty good right off the bat. Now in hindsight, what I'll say is not only was, you know, like I did the right things that front, but I also had perfect timing. And you can't really predict timing. I mean, I had a hunch that it was a good time to do content because everybody was locked up and on their phones.
Yeah.
But it was like looking back in hindsight, it was literally a perfect storm. And so I got lucky. I maybe was prepared. Maybe it was God. I don't care. Either way, it was the perfect time and I did the right things. And then, you know, by the end of the year, I think I had like 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. I had 400,000 on TikTok. And that was another one where everybody was like, dude, TikTok is for kids. And I was like, I don't know, dude. Seems pretty addictive. And even though no adults are on it yet, I think they will be.
Yeah.
And so I made a bet and I got really good at short form content when no one else knew how to do it. There was no agencies. There was no editing services. I made 700 videos on my own, on my phone in the TikTok app. Every morning, I filmed 2 of them every day.
Wow.
Because there was no mentor on it. It was new.
Yeah.
I became the guy because I just tested it and figured it out. So inevitably, after that year, I was now this social media guy on real estate. And then in 2021, 2022, people started to then catch on and like, okay, this is really important. I need to start making content.
Yep.
And now today in 2023, 2024, it's not even like a question. It's like, dude, you better be on social media or your competitor is. And if you're not, good luck because you ain't getting seen.
Yeah.
And it is a huge, huge part of my business for so many reasons. And yeah, I've been talking a lot, but I could tell you all the reasons it's crazy.
Let's talk a little bit about social media, reality TV. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Netflix and what that did for your business?
Well, definitely opened a lot more doors. It's allowed me to meet people that I probably wouldn't have met before on much bigger platforms. And the experience as far as like filming the show, you know, that goes
everything from getting reached out to filming to release, like just walk us through that whole process. Like how did they even find you?
Filming, well, they found me on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, they reached out to me on Instagram.
Yeah.
And
like the official Netflix account just like DM'd you?
A producer.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was a total scam.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, delete. And I totally, you know, but then they ended up finding my email and they emailed me. And then of course I looked it up because there was a signature at the bottom and I was like, oh, this is actually real. But the whole process, it was during COVID, so everything was like super delayed. But the filming part was, I would say, it was because it was a new experience. It was fun for the most part. But the other side of that, it was extremely stressful because the drama is real and the people are really crazy and you're dealing with all of that. Right. So, and I've never dealt with that before. I've always been, I guess you can say, lone wolf. I've been a single mom. I've worked 2-3 jobs at once. And so I didn't really have time to go out or make friends because I had a son to feed, you know? So, I've never dealt with that ever before, dealing with people with such strong personalities, but, I'm not gonna lie, I still get PTSD just thinking about it just cause it's a lot. It was a lot, you know?
What was the show called?
Selling the OC.
Selling the OC.
You should know this, Austin.
I don't really watch too much Netflix.
Me neither. Honestly, I didn't even have a TV until when my show came out. I was like, well, I would kind of like to enjoy watching this with an actual TV. But even today, I don't really watch much.
How do you believe your mindset or maybe like different skills that you have helped you grow your business to where it's at today?
Yeah. I think number one, it starts. We're talking about mindsets. It starts with you. There's a book, As a Man Thinketh. And so this idea that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. We reproduce what we think and believe in our heart and our mind. So like your mindset and your personal growth in your entrepreneurial journey should be number one. You can't take people further than you've gone yourself. So like we have to make sure that we're constantly evolving and becoming a better version of ourselves in life and the entrepreneurial journey so that we can take our business to where it needs to go and take others with us, right? Because it's not just about us, but like we want other people to have success too. You know what I mean? And so whether that's the people that work for you or people that you're kind of networking with, you want them to come along with them. So like if you're going far, you're showing people what's possible for them. Now you can become a reference point for someone else who's not as far along, and you can help them to get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's John Maxwell that talks about a leadership lid. We can basically create that lid by developing ourselves as a leader. And wherever we get to, that's as high as anybody in the organization is going to go. So in order for them to get to the next level, we have to increase our capacity, increase our knowledge, our experience, and take ourselves to the next level before we can lead somebody else there as well. So I think it's very relevant and very similar to what you're saying as well. As we continue growing our business, what has been the biggest factor that's allowed you to scale it? Was it hiring the right team members? Was it just improving your sales and marketing or business operations? Like what was it for you that allowed you to scale?
One, team is everything. And because I'm in PR, relationships is everything. PR, relationships. That's how I have all the connections with journalists and everything. So I understood the value of having a great team.
Yeah.
And that has been my rock. Having people that I can rely on that are going to take care of me and take care of my clients. I mean, we have all 5-star reviews, but it's not me doing the PR work at this point. It's my amazing team that I taught. And they support me. They're the reason that I could be on this podcast and be so proud of the work that I've done because of the systems that I've built, which is super important. Now we have an SOP, where we know how to get amazing results for our clients, but also the team who executes that.
Yeah.
And that comes from me every day being the culture. Because here's the thing about culture. It's honestly just you as the CEO. You can say, well, I'm trying to build culture. You can't build it. You show up as every day as the CEO, and that pours down whether you want it or not. It's your personality. I learned that, and I realized I have to show up for my team if I don't feel good. If I'm doubtful or whatever, it doesn't matter. I have to show up as that leader for them. Because if I do, they're going to do a great job for my clients and in their work. Our core value is excellence. And every day on Slack, we have the core values that get automatically zapped every morning. And it's always excellence. And I tell my team, we're excellent first with ourselves, then with each other. And then the third will take care of itself, which is our clients. And that's how I live by and what I teach my team by. So systems and processes and having an amazing team and taking care of them by showing them the culture, starting with yourself.
That's so interesting. I like how you put that. You are the culture. And I think people don't realize that because they hear all these things about culture and they're like, oh, well, I should have a good corporate culture, or I need to improve the culture of my business. I need to do this. I need to do that. But it's not really something that you do. It's something that you are. Yeah. And so again, going back to even like pouring into yourself and making sure that you're ready to go for the day and you have everything in check. You're operating in excellence before you go into your workplace, and people see that. You have to make sure that you are setting the culture by your own behavior, by your own actions and stuff like that. So I think that's a really, really great takeaway for people. So what's been a strategy for you as far as like hiring and sourcing these people? And then when it comes to like development, are you developing people within your company?
Yeah. So every role in our company has like a training program. Obviously, if you're newer and starting out, like it's not feasible to do this, right? So one, I think even stuff like this, right? Like shooting this podcast, doing all these things, media and attention. A lot of people look at it as like a sales front, but what they don't look at it is an actual acquisition front for hiring as well. Like we have people in our company at this point because of how much media we create as bad marketing and on Instagram, on YouTube, the founders each separately kind of creating their own content. Because of all this attention, we're able to get people who are top tier talents coming to us. And, that I think is so powerful and something that people don't realize. Like today we're like, oh, we want to get another media buyer. And then they're like, okay, cool. One post, boom. We have 10 interviews with people who spend $1 million a month or more. Just an example, right? 3 years ago, it would take me a year to find one person that did that. If I use Indeed, if I use LinkedIn, if I use everything, even try to go recruit people, it would be so hard. Whereas now, because we built that attention, that is what kind of makes it a lot easier for us to hire people. But if I was just starting out, I would say like use the typical platforms, LinkedIn, all this stuff. But I'll tell you, some of the best people are actually freelancers. And so if you're able to go to a site like Upwork or Fiverr and hire someone on a job to job basis, see the level of work that they do for the thing that you're hiring them for. And if they're incredible, go hire them. That's how I would do it, dude. When I first started, to this day, there are people that work with me for 3 to 4 years, and I found them through Upwork. I'm like, okay, I need a funnel builder for websites. And then I'll go and hire like 3. I'll be like, build me this project. And whoever was the best at communicating, whoever was the best at delivering the best value, I would go and take, and I would get on a call with them and be like, hey, how much do you make doing this? And they'll be like, I make $3,500 a month. I'm like, cool, I'll pay you $4,500 a month. You quit tomorrow. You work with me full time. Just an example, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, those are the people who are extremely talented. And not only that, when you go and you're a contractor, you have to find work, you have to manage clients, you have to do all these other excessive things.
Yeah.
And it's not your job, right? But if you come work with me and I pay you more and all you have to do is your job, it's like less headaches, more money, win, 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 win across the board, right? And so that's, I think, a really good pro tip, especially when you're first starting out. That is how I would acquire talent.
How have you like traditionally hired people? Is it just people that know you and your brand and they're like, man, I want to work with Edmond no matter what, like I'll work for free type of stuff? Or are you like putting out ads, or is it just referrals? Because I've used various different sources and I want to hear how you've built your companies.
Yeah. So it's a mixture, right? So when I got involved in this industry, restaurant business, I knew nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
I can put up an ad, but who am I, right? So I started interviewing food providers, Cisco, US Foods, Nicholas, and then they all liked me, but one of them really stood out, and she liked my vision, right? She's like, something about this guy, right? Everyone comes into this industry and says, I'm going to open up 10 restaurants. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? But there was something about this lady. She saw something in me. She's like, maybe this guy, as crazy as he sounds, right? Maybe he's onto something.
Yeah.
So she recommended someone else that was in this industry who became my operator, right?
Okay.
Without him, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this, right? I mean, I would have gotten someone else to do it, right?
Yeah.
But without this person's expertise, would not have been able to do it. So how do I attract this person? It's just, you got to have that human connection, right? Bring him on, interview him. Exactly. He's got another job. He's got to be willing to take a gamble on you, right? He's working for another restaurant business that has 10, 20 restaurants already. It's an established chain.
Yeah.
To pull this guy away and have this guy come work for you takes a lot, right? You just got to be a people person, right?
Yeah.
Have good intentions. People see that. That's how I've been able to attract them. But yeah, who do I want to work for me? It needs to be someone that's just like me, right? Has the same vision, same beliefs, just sees life the same, right? If they don't, it's never gonna work, right? So my office, my corporate office, I need to have 20 sharks just like me, right? Same mindset. We can together as a team, we can go conquer the world, right? But if there's division within my corporate office, it's never gonna work, right? I tell them to do something, they think of it, they think I'm crazy, or they don't respect me. They're not going to want to work with me or work for me. So when you hire someone, hire your twin, as close to it as possible.
Where do you find these people? Are they just finding you? Are they coming to you because of your brand or your company or your vision? Or are you out like getting referrals or hiring on websites?
Yeah, I think my strategy might be a little bit different. Like I like to keep the people that knew me when I was going through the super tough times,
Yeah.
they kind of stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like Logan is the one that runs my whole brand on the back end. When I kind of like lost pretty much everything, that was the phone call I made. And he let me sleep in the guest room for a couple of nights in Phoenix. When I returned my car, I broke my lease. I left the girl I was living with at the time. I made almost $2 million in my career at that point. I was down to, under $100,000 to my name in times were super tough. Like that was the guy that put me there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for me, like I enjoy the idea of having some of these day ones, with me. My videographer that helped me do all these different videos for the last, close to, 8 years. He was also the guy that when I couldn't afford to put him in his own hotel room back in the day in Europe, and we're sleeping in like $100 per night hotel room. So I think it's cool to go from that to then it's like staying in, the Burj Al Arab in Dubai, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for me, it's like I like hiring and having the people around me that knew me from like day one. But if you're not in a situation where you can do that, I think maybe just putting on your story, hey, looking for a videographer, looking for a marketing guy, right? And let them send over their resumes or their past work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get on social media. I don't think you need to get on, you're not going to open up a phone book. Get on social media and seek out really good talent.